to know about it.
Okay. There's a way in which I feel like we could have had this in my living room. And you'd all have been welcome. Gust of flame and current. The bridge from cast-offs to burning. The wildfires that the cones yearn for. Sing their soft green into tempting and ritual brown. Coaxing for the release of their seeds. The fire's too hot for that now, too. Fed by import fodder grass and bolted decorative potential torture. Wind is indiscriminate, loves rain, fog, bridges, caresses the bay surface, ocean cliff face. Lifts the returning pelicans, checker spot butterflies, stirs and pants, and mows the trees, the new railings, and lends frenzy to the wildfires, offers us smoke that is an unfamiliar prayer, bark-peeled trees perched anxious along this crawling coast, wrapped in sacred numbers, and who will count the individual flames this season, a desperate fortune-telling. The string held between hands, potential burning, we release one loop at a time to see who the new child will be. A different burning time, fuel piled against remembering trees and ancestor blood. The crack and crack of the air marker. Here in the control, the stone rimmed. Here, near the storytelling, danger. The twitch and fret of things learned hard. The cups and sings in a long time contract. Time pulls apart along the seams. An imaginary friend. Relatives framed in orange and black. The smell of drying acorn, of smoked fish, and this is a way of making, a prayer setting, an intention. These are long-time rituals. Shivers along selected stories, what the peppernut tree taught us about empathy and divine wisdom of a cast-iron pan. We throw words and seeds, throw a learned balance, a joy, a struggle into each thing that nourishes, into each startle of change, into a prayer fire, a storytelling fire. We're a collaboration that started with single cells and got firewood, like these piled assaults and years. Ice is not the opposite of fire, not from any angle. Things that start fire are not the opposite of fire either. This coast of tectonics and song, I have carried sage, a gift from right next to the skin. We shift the mountain, the spring on top of the hill where the intentions puddle and swell and drain, and the butterflies find new perches, the exposed cypress roots and the handful of praying sand that slipped between them, flexible at the crest of the hill, that everything is an invitation, is sacred stone, anti-fire, is the arcane poem. I don't know how to measure poem either, a handful, a page full, but this is not a page by number of lines, by what the poem burns, because poems are not fires, but might start them, and some fires selected and fasted over are a healing. The water spider wove a basket to contain the fire, a new weaving, a new poem to be whispered to the creek we stir in the morning, listening to the slip of the fall. The coast is a cooperative of the shattered, an uneasy compromise. Slip, a difficult poem to measure. We float on liquid rock, more earthquakes than ever, and the chant, not our fault. But here we are, strike, slip, the crawling coast, the fires, the droughts, and the land shiver, the ticks and twitches of change and the reaction, strike, slip, the extractions, the depletions, the stone deep ache, the time, the molten shift, no fire, but it can start a fire, the making rigid, the making supple, and what will break in the hide of earth and water, what will crack the history from itself, tree ring or rock layer, water spun boulder or molten ice, not the opposite of fire. This is the world on uncertain footing, the shift and shift, an act of understanding. For these shorebirds, and north of here, the land has opened and gulped the cow whole. The fence shift, a lesson about fences, about the ways a maze can change, the healing plants gone scarce, the symbolic breaths of lungless salamanders flowers coiled into orange songs in this season of fire. Some night the air hot enough to crack seed pods, a sound like movie house corn, and there the yellow to black pods that spit shiny black punctuation, yards from the mother tree, or all at once a rain of conifer seeds complete with their own sails, a swarm of knot bugs, a flight of seeds in heat. Home is an erratic rhythm, a heartbeat, jazz, the river under the blacktop again and again, the river that still sings salmon at some times of year, and an old song of a red hawk, the hawk of longing, laboring through this Pacific wind. What follows this relocated heart? Here the earth moves, and south of here the volcanoes. Another measure of change, a clock that knows the spin of earth and falling seed. Do we fall faster now as the change comes and the volcanoes tell time? Sun up in all the colors of a wildfire. Yesterday's rain sings drying leaf songs. These are the days that catch you by the shoelaces. Have you checking years-old poems? One you wove into blankets, but the words are still marginally visible. Are they calling this a war? Sky, bleeding warnings and blessings, a balance, a constant state of no refuge. I carry keys from old rooms I can't go visit. The thought of those shirts will drive me scattered through these other fires. The people thrown out like garbage, like expired symbols, like stories we have no use for. The smoke of the burning are a grim prayer. Like the winding watch that day tightening, tip over the winged boulders crawling menace. These aren't the jump scares we've been taught, training for all wrong things. Only the plot twists remain the same. A contact evil, after some deep thought, that is the word, the digging and painful ember that breath will flare in lessened songs and self. Murder is always a hate crime, bouquet of broken rolls that bloom and bleed. These histories are a museum of anguish, a manufactured reason for leadership, such as it is. Soft breath, pain, and its reminder. So, our star tonight. We were just saying we don't know each other real well. Here's where we are in the friendship. By watching Gabor read across the country, I've realized that we know a lot more people in common than I thought, which is always a good sign. So I was watching friends, Susan, Mimi, and Rich, Ferguson, who I read here not that long ago. I think poetry can fall into dialect. Even if we're not speaking the same language, we're talking about similar things. And it's just such a pleasure to have you here in my home city, reading your new book. And welcome, welcome. Oh, we have pretty pictures?
Yeah,
Oh, you're tall enough to where you probably
take some pictures. So we can.
Doug.
Allow me.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
What do you,
Thank you.
oh no, we'll be here a
Oh,
while.
well, it had to be shared in many places, you know. I'm very proud to read Kim Shuck. I translate her poems to Hungarian. Published some of them too.
Yeah.
Okay.
One more? The best.
So I'm so glad when I was thinking who to ask to read with me, and when I asked Kim, she said yes right away. That was really something. And yeah, some of this book came about. It's so funny. I was in Venice Poetry Festival in Italy with Medvefelhő from LA, and I didn't even know he had a publishing house or press. But at that time he didn't know it either. I said, I want to publish your book in American New Poetry. So I said, okay, let me think about it a little bit. So a minute later I just finished my comparison and I said, okay. So we had this, and luckily we found Attila József, amazing painter, and I think he just won a poetry award too. I'm not sure, PEN or something. Anyway, yeah, he's a Texas poet laureate or something. No, San Antonio poet laureate. And an amazing artist. He sent me over 100 of his paintings to choose from for no charge. I mean, that's unheard of, right? So it took me days to find, but actually this one caught my eyes at the very first.
I love it.
So, but I still had to go through the rest. Okay, I have some great blurbs. Andrei Codrescu, who came out to my New York reading, wrote a blurb. My Czech publisher wrote a blurb. My wife, who is a scholar, she wrote a blurb. Two readers, I included two readers an American and a Hungarian, who liked my stuff, and Kim wrote, I'm going to read this poem, Impossibles, and Will Alexander, that some of you might have heard of. Yeah. He's an amazing poet. Unfortunately, he was not in LA this time because he had some teaching responsibility in one of the universities. Okay, enough of talking now. And I wrote these poems in English, which is my second language. I used to live in the States a long time ago. Recognition of Inui. The wind was lost in my hair and fell into my shadow on the other side of earth in this invisible cold. Questions lurk in my eyes, my organs slowly evaporating, their absence leaves a gap in the water. My face shows no killing intent. Every wound heals on the trunks of unknown trees. The arches of the future disappear on their greenish branches. Naked darkness multiplies my shoulders. My chest is a bed of mire leaves. Frogs bathe in the pools of my footsteps. Stories splash onto the shore sand. Every part of my body is a higher message. My features are a lost smile in clay slush. Pine needles, raindrops fall from the sky. No one cries for the wound of another. I carry an avalanche on my fingertips. Earth grows wings on the sides of the mountains and flies up to the stars that burden her body with life. The stones with our names neither belong to nor are magnetized by any shadowy figures. The smoke of burning birch bark covers my skin, makes my eyes water, tests the orifices of my skeleton, roots of clouds snake through my intestines. Our innocence is based on the forgotten dreams of the night. The roof of our silhouettes overshadowed our decisions. The tree branches penetrated millions of parchments. Our relationship might not be correlated to any behaviors. This is one of my longer poems. I don't really write long poems. Without heroes, a ripe pear finds its way through the branches, reaches the ground, and explodes in my extrusive poems. I wash the goo off with fresh rainwater collected in the well ring next to the draw well. The rain finds every gap, from falling from 0 point to zero, bakes through every heavy-duty terrain, and calms down when it evolves to become a stream that makes frogs quiet their croaking, the crickets their chirping. I place my palm on the ground. I feel the heartbeat of my mother. I hang the picking basket to dry on the hook of the counter brace in the shed. Patch on the foghorn. Under the wings of a dead angel, the moon is making love to the sun. The negative of their bodies lie in every riverbed, mountain range, dirt road, next to your footprint, in every ditch. By the walnut tree, you find a piece of the moon, and not far from it, under the plum tree, shines a broken part of the sun. Must have been a heavy copulation there. Umbrella moon. You see your double on the water's surface. You lean closer, your body jostles itself inside the pores of your face. An angle is narrowed down by your glances. The wind won't dry your skin in the deepening riverbed. You're thinking about a pleasant place you've seen long ago, calming yourself to get in harmony with the environment. No need purchasing a second-hand souvenir from the dog hanging out in front of the pen shop tonight. There are things that can do you in. A body with a ripped-up abdomen sings faster than the best with the mask on, cajoling present. I read lots of Native American poetry, and this to get in harmony with the environment is definitely from that. The next poem is absolutely true. I was up in Banff at a translation camp for 3 weeks. There was this guy who actually taught literature in China. He went to swim like me every day, but what he did is this. In the swimming pool, he jumped head first, but before each length, he read a stanza from a poem. And during each 50 meters, he engraved each stanza in his brain. As many stanzas, as many lengths. When he finished, he recited the poem to those present at the pool's cafeteria. He left them pages from his notebook on the locker room trash can. He read the new poem every day. It's not definitely his own poems, he was just reading. And it was really funny. So he had to swim much more. It depended on the length of the poem. So I was already sweating on the shore, and he was still swimming and studying poetry. Impossibilism, which is mentioned in Kim's verb. While running, the whirring of the sole of your feet is the silent sound of a cave. The sky is angry because it can't catch up with you, with your tricks practiced for hundreds of millennia. Only those can see you who are about to die. You, down here, the straight-up spine, cajole, the unexpressed. And when the lightnings are asleep, your silence is hiding in the sounds of thousands thunderings. Nothing indicates when it appears again. That's Native American too. It's they can see only after you are about to die. This is. I won't say this anymore. That what it is when people recognize it. That's what I want to start from the end. Which doesn't matter to you, but I will finish with this poem, the very last one. Totem. The skyscrapers on the streets with Indian names aren't occupied by First Nation people, rather by window washers and security contractors. They are the 12-tone technique of the scale. Occasionally one can hear the breathing of invisible Indians and smell the scent of earth scattered on the asphalt from their moccasins in the cities. We've all been to New York City, right? So, population at daylight. Jaywalking is customary in New York City. After all, red lights stand in the way of progress. The subway is running on its own time, only occasional floods can alter the system. Sun and rain come down together smoothly, raindrops and sun sweat making love on my forehead. Sink me. The way you were strumming the guitar he took from a pirate with naked eye, making patterns to guide it with irregular spirals of languages, with spontaneous manners of the sound of snowfalls, and smoke roofs on fire, somewhere around one of the incomplete oceans, with music heard from a sunken warship, and seen there, a convict dancing on the plank, not walking. That's it when you, that is when you realize it is your life hanging by a thread, makes you keep on playing. Oops, sorry. A day on earth. The bloody carcass of the dead dog that missed the fox was raided by an army of ants. They carried to storage every morsel in extended order. The poacher didn't touch the carcass. He trampled on the anthill. I have some railroad poems that kind of deals with God that doesn't exist. Aim and look aside. The night watchman swears the train never goes to places where the river has no recollection, where the bell is the watch pocket of the hill, where the pit-pat sound turns to music. The train only goes to where there are possible offerings, where God looks aside. As of today, the railroad man with the yellow flag and a long-handled hammer in his hand steadily walks around the empty space the wagons left behind. Along the railroad, reaching over the border, thousands of footprints confiscated and thrown away clothing and personal stuff, among them a police helmet stuck between the rails, trampled on. After the last one, I never knew what was, when the train, before the train comes, you lower this thing. I could never find it in any Hungarian dictionary what the word sorokó meant. Is it boomgate? Or is
Cow catcher?
The one,
in the olden time,
Yeah.
that thing was long, very long, and you had to like roll it down, and then the train came. How do you call that thing?
Oh, yeah.
Or they took a crossing gate.
The gates.
Crossing.
Yeah.
I know.
But it's another word for it, I know.
Drawbridge.
No.
No.
Not you have the railway station that the train
Ding,
comes.
ding, 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 ding,
Yes,
ding, ding,
but-
ding, ding, ding.
okay.
What do you call
Okay,
them?
go ahead, go.
I call
What do you call them?
What?
No, the ones.
I know what you mean, it's called a switching.
Can we-
I call it boomgate in this poem.
Okay.
Yeah. that's
So
okay.
I don't know where I found this, but I think I couldn't find any better word for it.
No.
Nobody knows a railroad man. Maybe you should ask Mariska Veres. Never married a railroad man. Okay. He lowers the boom gate, steps between the tracks, stares at the landscape. Above the contact area of the tracks, moves backwards as if something were approaching, but it's only a flash of light. He raises the boom gate, hangs his head on the cranker, next to his epaulets. Contemporary human trash covers the railroad gravels. He stands above them. No more trains coming. I hope I gave
It's the right word.
boom gate.
Yes, that's what it's called.
It's
Really?
called boom gate.
Yeah, it's called a boom gate.
Cool.
I learned something today.
I didn't
Did you
know.
look it up? Did you look it up?
Yeah, you gotta do it.
Oh, good,
It is-
I didn't know that.
I searched for it for months.
There you go.
Crossing.
Yeah.
But that's different because it's a signal, and this is what used to be a metal arm, right?
Yeah,
And now it's, of course, it's not metal but plastic or wooden arm.
yeah.
So it's, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
thank you.
What should I read? Oh, I like this one. Magina Robert. You are the one who cut down the foliage around the hanging garden. Yet it was not you who sent me the flowers, but someone else who might be capable of love. All you need is the scent of my skin, the openings of my body. You walk around me sniffing like dogs on the bush. You're covertly watching me. You're covertly watching me, hearkening in disguise, mumbling your observations into your digital recording device, listening to it sound by sound during your coffee break. The dust stirred by a moment flies away, like an invisible entity you wish to possess. You touch me slightly in the elevator, which stopped a second ago. You caress me like blind people read Braille. I crumple myself up, won't let you read me. Under the ruined elevator, you're housing my whole body. The messenger. The bird messenger appearing for no reason is unthinkable, as it was followed by verdant patches on trees and bushes. What's this if not possible pieces of our madness, which appear as non-competitive details of life emanating out of man, like most everything else, that creak inside us during winter time and gives us serious strength to continue? That's why we are able to chop iron with iron, piece after piece, helping us recognize death as an acknowledgement of life. This is what throws us up without batting an eye and fires our frozen engine. Mystic movements. Sometimes I realize that there are words that I know what they mean, but I can't pronounce them. So last night I have a kind of a long poem called the Indian Time Misunderstood, and I had to ask David Romero, the chief editor. I started it and I just couldn't. And then he beautifully read it, and he screwed up only one word because he didn't know what it was. So I told him to audition. He's in Hollywood after all. He's in LA. He should audition for movies. I mean, he perfectly read the poem the way it had to be read. It was amazing. So I'm not going to read that because I'm going to screw up. Plus we had a band behind us, so it had to be a mystic movements. I'm standing on the edge of the tracks. The last train has gone. Dogs bark behind closed fences. Two girlfriends from the past came unexpectedly to mind. Their names are mysteries, but I see their faces. Do they remember me, or do I no longer exist? I don't believe in time, let it be past, future, present. I watch Spanish thrillers at night. These Southern Europeans can be just as filthy, perverted, brutal creatures as us in our politics, or the Scandinavians in their novels. The sky is white, the green of the trees is woodpecker pecking. I lie in my stomach, my face between two tufts of grass, holding my very last breath. Not stopping short at 2 in 1. Don't ask me. I don't know how this title came about. A self-taught artist who made a consciously forced close-up of your eyes might think that your arching unibrow should be able to persuade him as a gullible photographer, not to stop relieving his smarting incentives as if they were accepted balancing acts or overabundant majestic moments that would ridicule adjacent blanket bands, manipulative vetoes, and backfired missile attacks. After participating at the nuptials of several lot lizards in Midwestern truck stops, with cameras hanging from his neck. He wants nothing from you, only a picture taken to see every color through the irises of your eyes. I rewrote this to translate Hungarian, and I had to figure something out, this lot lizard, and Midwestern Hungarians would understand what it means. You know, the girls who go into the trucks. Rowing the temporal, as if 100 years ago, and still, indigenous simplicity, free from longing, we dive underwater by subway from Pest to Buda. We rest in the blinds of reeds on the shore, an osprey orbit overhead, speaking with his wings. A grass snake glides under our feet in the sedge. Invisible frogs watch, dragonflies zip past. You don't yearn for anything. Permutation of beauty sway in the breeze. No command, no pushing, no boasting. Our eyes don't blink at material deficiency. Yeah, there's a misspell, the word. Yeah, well. I don't want to bore you. But I like this poem, I like to read this. Creating your own music. The early troglodytes might have despised the shining of birds, especially the cawing of crows. To beguile the tedium of watching the blunt pointed angle, they chopped wood after wood to pieces. Chased thousands of mantises and cockroaches from the greens of their caves. Tried avoiding to hear the footfall of ghosts by entering someone else's thoughts. Parted the meadow covered with fiddlehead ferns, the surface of the long-built path across the hills, which was shaped by roots of every tree they had known around the crevice of earth. Emitting particles of previously inhaled fog of destiny, when the thunder slept, they decorated Okay, and this one happened to me. I still lived in the island of Csepel in Budapest, and I used to go to a bar, and there were some real Hungarians who thought that we were Hungarians coming from Sirius, and they were don't hurt Hungarian. They were well built. They were prisoned several times, and they right fingers the man of Orbán Viktor. As a matter of fact, and I'm a known opposition poet. So that's what happened to me after I left the bar. A pistol is held to your forehead in a bosky alley of the night. You search for the face behind the hand as you wait for the click of the trigger. And instead you see the hand holding the gun pulled back. You take a deep breath, and when your lungs fill up with the air of hope, a blow hits your temple. A stick up, the thought enters you together with the pain. Two men stand above you, kick your face, your groin, repeatedly, without rushing. One of them leans about you. You little piece of crap, be happy you're still alive, perspiring at you. Yeah, they beat the shit out of me, but I'm still It happens. Okay, we're going to a little sci-fi now. Today, the other hand is open, where you could meet the alien. Your ballpoint pen elevates the space through the ink-red border clouds, while ant-like scouts patrol the area. The alien is watching. And I think I'm going to read the that very short poem. It's called Too Bright. I reflect the world, some part of it for certain. I see her coming, she'll never arrive. I see her leaving, she'll never depart. Thank you for having me. Thanks for getting me down to have me here after so many years. I hope that those friends that who promised that would came there, but they didn't. It's a busy Saturday night, but I'm so glad that you were here, and I really thank Keen.
It's quite a good crowd.
It's always quality audiences.
Yeah.
So, and this is an amazing place. You know, there's no better place to read that.
So
than-
where are you going next?
Going back in 2 days.
From here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Flying back to London and
It's going to be some really good jazz in the Vesuvius Alley tomorrow.
oh, okay.
Very good jazz.
We'll come down. We'll come down.
Yeah.
I planned with Tom that we're gonna go to Bernal Heights to
Yeah.
have some chowder down at the not at the river,
Yeah.
but at the clam house.
The jazz tomorrow is absolute top notch.
Okay, what time?
It's about